Gentlemen, let me ask you something most men rarely think about. What if I told you that the few minutes after release could quietly decide whether you wake up full of energy tomorrow or feeling drained, sluggish, and older than your years? It's not the act itself that causes problems. In fact, self-pleasure is natural, even healthy. The real danger hides in those simple choices we make right afterward. Choices that seem harmless in the moment, but slowly chip away at your energy, your confidence, even your prostate health. I've seen it firsthand in older men who came to me confused, wondering why their strength was fading. And honestly, I've been guilty of making some of these mistakes myself when I was younger. At first, it feels like nothing, but repeat them often enough, and they become habits that silently lower testosterone, weaken circulation, and speed up aging. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most men assume that age alone is what makes intimacy fade, but the truth is, many of these declines are self-inflicted and often preventable. Once you know what to avoid, you can actually protect your vitality and intimacy far longer than you thought possible. So, in today's story, I'll walk you through 5 of the most common traps men fall into after masturbation, and what to do instead. Think of this as a roadmap, not just to stronger erections, but to a healthier, more confident version of yourself. Before we dive in, let's set the stage. Instead of listing them one by one, I'll share them as turning points in a journey where each wrong turn leads to decline, but each smart choice leads to recovery. Along the way, I'll bring in real examples, lessons I've learned from patients, and a few personal reflections that might surprise you. Ready? Let's begin with the very first turn on this road, the moment when your body begs for sleep. Mistake number 1. Falling asleep immediately after release. So let's start with the very first crossroad after release, the one that feels the most natural, but also the most deceptive. You know that heavy wave of drowsiness that washes over you? The eyes grow heavy, the body feels almost magnetically pulled toward the pillow. For many men, especially in their 60s or 70s, it feels like the obvious choice. I'm tired, I'll just close my eyes. And at first, it seems harmless. After all, what's wrong with getting a little rest? Here's the catch. That innocent nap is actually cutting your body off from a vital recovery process. Right after orgasm, your hormones and circulation are in a delicate balance. Prolactin rises, telling the brain it's time to rest. But if you give in immediately, your blood flow slows down before it has a chance to flush waste and reset testosterone. It's like finishing a workout and then collapsing on the floor without cooling down. You don't just skip recovery, you actually trap fatigue inside your system. I've met countless men who wake up the next morning puzzled. Why do I feel so sluggish, even though I slept all night? They think it's just aging. But in reality, it's this tiny habit, repeated again and again, that teaches the body to accept low energy as the new normal. Let me share a story. A gentleman I once spoke with, Mr. Fan, 67, came in complaining that his mornings felt like walking through mud. He assumed it was just old age creeping in. But when I asked about his bedtime habits, he admitted he always fell asleep right after release. I challenged him. Give me 1 week. Instead of collapsing, spend just 10 minutes walking around, stretching, sipping water. The next time we spoke, his eyes lit up. Doc, I can't believe it. I actually woke up feeling refreshed. My wife even noticed I had more energy at breakfast. Now, I don't share this to scare you, but to show how powerful small adjustments can be. Falling asleep right away isn't a crime, but it is like handing away tomorrow's energy without realizing it. So what's the alternative? Think of it as a cool down. 5 to 10 minutes is all you need. Stand up, move your arms and legs, drink a glass of water, maybe breathe deeply at the window. These little rituals send a clear message to your body. Finish the process, don't freeze it in place. And here's the beautiful part.
Men who try this often notice changes immediately. A clearer head the next morning, a little more spring in their step, even stronger confidence in the bedroom. It proves something we often forget. Even at 60 or 70, the body is still eager to respond if you give it the right signals. Now, if drifting off to sleep too quickly can quietly drain you, imagine what happens when you swing in the opposite direction and shock your system instead. That leads us straight into the second mistake, one that many men think is refreshing but actually works against them.
Mistake number 2, jumping into a cold shower too quickly. Now let's turn the page to the opposite habit. If falling asleep too fast slows your recovery, then shocking your body too suddenly can do just as much damage. I'm talking about the cold shower. On the surface, it feels like the tough and even healthy choice. You finish, you feel warm and drained, so you crank the knob to ice-cold water. Many men tell me, "Doc, it wakes me right up, makes me feel alive again." And I understand that. I used to do it myself, thinking I was building resilience. But here's what's really happening inside. Right after release, your blood vessels are wide open, your tissues are soft, your nervous system is in what I call the repair phase. When you blast that state with icy water, your blood vessels slam shut. Circulation that should be feeding oxygen and nutrients to your most important tissues suddenly grinds to a crawl. Instead of recovery, your body experiences shock. Think of it like trying to water your garden. The soil is open, ready to drink in moisture, but just as you turn on the hose, someone twists it shut. Nothing flows. Over time, the plants wilt. Your body reacts the same way. I once spoke to a retired coach, let's call him Mr. Nam, who proudly swore by his post-release cold showers. "It makes me feel strong," he said. But when we got honest, he admitted his erections didn't feel as full as they once did. His body saw the cold as stress, not strength. When he switched to warm showers, waiting a few minutes before stepping in, he noticed a difference he never expected. Less tension, faster recovery, and more confidence in bed. And that's the point. This isn't about avoiding discomfort. It's about respecting timing. Cold exposure can be healthy in the right context, morning routine, exercise recovery, even mental training. But immediately after release, that's the worst time to shock fragile blood vessels. So what's the smarter alternative? Warmth. A warm or lukewarm shower keeps blood flowing, muscles relaxed, and supports the body's natural healing. It's like giving your system a gentle nudge back to balance rather than slamming the brakes. Men who make this change often tell me, "I feel calmer, erections feel stronger, my body recovers faster." And that's no coincidence. Circulation is life, and anything that helps blood move freely keeps you young where it matters most. Now, if you think a cold shower is bad, imagine what happens when you add fuel to the fire. Many men, right after release, reach for comfort in the form of food, drinks, or even a smoke. And that, my friends, is the third trap we need to talk about.
Mistake number 3, reaching for junk food, alcohol, or cigarettes. So we've seen how falling asleep too quickly can rob your body of recovery, and how shocking it with icy water can choke off circulation. But there's another trap, one that doesn't just steal energy, it feeds decline from the inside out. I'm talking about the so-called comfort fixes, junk food, alcohol, or cigarettes. Now I know the temptation. After release, the body feels light, a little empty. Your brain, meanwhile, is searching for a dopamine boost to replace the high that just dropped. And so, the hand goes to what feels familiar: chips, a late-night beer, maybe even a cigarette to relax. Here's the truth. In that moment, your body is vulnerable. Testosterone has dipped, dopamine has dipped, and your nervous system is searching for balance. When you load it with processed carbs, alcohol, or nicotine, you're not helping. It's like pouring gasoline on a fragile fire. The flames look bright for a second, but then they burn out faster, leaving nothing but smoke. I remember one gentleman, Mr. Hui, in his late 60s. Every evening after his routine, he'd grab a cold beer and a handful of fried peanuts. "It's just tradition," he said. But he couldn't understand why his belly kept growing, his mornings felt heavier, and his desire had faded to almost nothing. When we swapped the beer and peanuts for water and almonds, something remarkable happened. Within a month, his waist slimmed a little, his energy came back, and he even joked that his wife noticed he was more himself again. The science is simple. Alcohol dehydrates you and raises estrogen. Junk food spikes blood sugar, then crashes it, making fatigue worse. Cigarettes tighten blood vessels, cutting off the very circulation you need most. Each choice in isolation might not seem dramatic, but repeated over years, they carve away vitality like water wearing down stone. Now I'll be honest, I've fallen into this trap too. Years ago, I thought nothing of grabbing ice cream or pouring a drink after sex. It felt like a reward. But the mornings after? Always heavier, slower, less motivated. When I shifted to water, fruit or herbal tea instead, the difference was striking. It wasn't just my body, it was my mind. I felt cleaner, calmer, more in control. So what's the better choice? Think nourishment, not punishment. Reach for foods that restore, fruit, nuts, a light protein snack. Or skip food altogether and hydrate. Your body doesn't need more stress, it needs a signal that you care for it. Because here's the secret, those little choices stack up. Over time, they become the difference between energy that fades and energy that grows. And if physical habits like food and drink can weaken us, imagine the damage that happens when the battle isn't on the plate, but in the mind. That leads us to the fourth and perhaps most underestimated mistake.
Mistake number 4, guilt and overthinking. We've talked about physical habits, falling asleep too soon, shocking your body with cold, feeding it junk or alcohol. But sometimes the heaviest weight doesn't come from the body at all. It comes from the mind. I'm talking about guilt and overthinking. For many men, especially those who grew up in strict households or religious environments, self-pleasure was painted as something dirty, shameful, or weak. So even at 60 or 70 years old, those old voices still whisper in the back of the mind, "You shouldn't have done that." I've seen men carry this like a secret burden. They'll sit in my office, unable to meet my eyes, and whisper, "Doc, I still do it sometimes, but afterward I feel ashamed, like I've betrayed myself." My heart aches every time because I know that the shame isn't biological, it's cultural. And worse, it's robbing them twice, first of joy and then of energy. Here's why. When guilt takes over, cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes. And cortisol and testosterone are like a seesaw. When one goes up, the other goes down. So every wave of shame doesn't just hurt your spirit, it literally lowers the very hormone that fuels erections, vitality, and confidence. I'll share a personal reflection here. In my younger years, I wrestled with the same messages. Afterward, I'd lie there replaying thoughts. Why did you do that? You should have more discipline. But the more I fought it, the stronger the urge came back. It was a cycle. Release, guilt, stress, repeat. The turning point was when I stopped labeling it as bad and started seeing it as natural. Instead of guilt, I focused on how I responded after. A walk, a journal entry, a deep breath, small rituals that turned the moment from shame into self-care. And the transformation in mindset was powerful. Once guilt lifted, I noticed not only did erections feel stronger, but I felt lighter in everyday life, less anxious, more present. One of my older patients, Mr. Din, 70, once told me that letting go of guilt felt like removing a backpack I didn't know I was wearing. His mood improved, his marriage warmed, and his energy returned. Nothing physical changed, only his thoughts. So here's the lesson. Guilt is an invisible enemy. You can't see it in the mirror, but you feel it in your bones. And you have a choice. You can let it erode your confidence, or you can replace it with compassion. The next time guilt shows up, try this. Stand up, move, breathe, or write a few lines in a notebook. Remind yourself, this is normal. I'm human. I choose to care for myself, not punish myself. And once you begin practicing that, you'll discover something remarkable. Your body follows your mind. The more peace you carry inside, the more strength you'll feel outside. Now, guilt is powerful, but there's one more mistake that's even more damaging, because it doesn't just weigh on your mind or slow recovery. It strikes right at the core of your prostate and your long-term vitality. And that's the temptation to go back for more too soon.
Mistake number 5. Back-to-back masturbation. And now we arrived at the final mistake, the one that many men quietly repeat without realizing the cost. It's the temptation to go again. You know the thought, I still feel a little spark left. Why not one more time? At first it feels like proving you've still got it. A second round can seem like a victory lap. But here's the truth. Going back to back doesn't build strength, it erodes it. Right after orgasm, your body shifts into recovery mode. Testosterone dips, dopamine falls, the prostate and blood vessels are asking for a pause. When you force a second session too soon, you're doubling the recovery time. Instead of feeling satisfied, many men describe the second round as hollow, weaker, less fulfilling. And over months or years, this habit puts real strain on the prostate, the very gland that protects urinary and sexual health. I recall a conversation with Mr. Kian, a retired engineer in his early 70s. He admitted, almost embarrassed, the first time feels strong, but the second, it feels empty, like there's nothing there. He worried he was losing it, but I explained it wasn't failure, it was his body pleading for rest. Once he gave himself 48 hours between releases, the difference was remarkable. His energy steadied, his erections returned with more strength, and his anxiety lifted. And honestly, I've learned this lesson myself. When I tried pushing for a second round, it always felt forced, and the next day my body reminded me with fatigue and fog. But when I respected the pause, the next time felt fuller, more powerful, more natural. The key here is discipline, not in the sense of denying pleasure, but in pacing it. Think of it like weight training. If you lift heavy and immediately try to max out again without recovery, you don't build strength, you invite injury. But if you rest, let the muscles rebuild, then return later, you grow stronger. Your sexual health works the same way. So instead of chasing back-to-back gratification, give your body a window. 24 to 48 hours. Let testosterone replenish, let the prostate relax, let circulation reset. That patience doesn't mean less pleasure, it means better, more reliable pleasure for the long run. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. 5 mistakes, 5 choices that seem small in the moment, but repeat them often enough, and they quietly shape the quality of your years ahead. Falling asleep too soon drains tomorrow's energy. Cold showers shock delicate circulation. Junk food, alcohol, and cigarettes trade vitality for comfort. Guilt poisons the mind, dragging down hormones and confidence. And back-to-back sessions overwork the very gland that protects your manhood. But here's the empowering truth. Every one of these mistakes has a simple alternative. Move before sleep. Choose warm water. Nourish, don't punish. Replace guilt with self-compassion. Respect recovery time. I've sat across from men in their 60s and 70s who thought decline was inevitable. Yet once they made these changes, tiny shifts in a tiny window, their faces lit up with surprise. They felt stronger, younger, more confident again. Their wives noticed. Their mornings felt lighter. Their own self-respect grew. And that's the lesson I want to leave you with today. Aging doesn't have to mean surrender. You can't turn back the clock, but you can decide how your body spends the years ahead. Every small choice after release is like casting a vote for decline or for strength. So, gentlemen, next time you find yourself in that vulnerable window, remember this. Discipline in the smallest moments can protect your vitality for the biggest seasons of life. And that's a choice worth making.
So, gentlemen, let's pause for a moment and reflect. We've walked through 5 mistakes that, on the surface, look harmless. Falling asleep too quickly, shocking your body with cold water, reaching for a drink, a cigarette, or junk food, letting guilt eat away at your confidence, and pushing yourself for just one more when your body is begging for rest. Each one is small, but together they form a pattern that can steal years of energy, intimacy, and manhood. But here's the good news. You hold the power to change that pattern starting today. And it doesn't take heroic effort, just 5 to 10 minutes of movement before sleep, a warm shower instead of a cold one, water instead of whiskey, self-compassion instead of shame, and patience instead of pressure. Think about it. Tiny shifts in a tiny window. Yet over time, those shifts can mean waking up with more energy, standing taller in your confidence, and protecting your prostate and testosterone for years to come. I've seen it happen. Men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who thought the fire was gone, only to find it flickering back once they changed these small habits. And you deserve the same. Because aging is not about losing your strength. It's about learning to protect it. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you find yourself in that vulnerable window, ask yourself, am I building my vitality or draining it? Choose the habit that serves your future, not just your moment. And if this message resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button, share this with a friend who could use the reminder, and make sure you subscribe for more insights on protecting your health, your energy, and your manhood well into your senior years. Because in the end, this isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's about writing the next chapter of your life with strength, dignity, and vitality. Gentlemen, your future starts in the smallest moments. Choose wisely. Gentlemen, if today's lesson gave you something to think about, don't let it end here. Hit the like button so more men can discover these truths. Share this video with a friend, a brother, or anyone who could use a little extra strength in their life. And most importantly, subscribe to Men's Vital Health Wellness Wisdom so you never miss another tip that could protect your energy, your confidence, and your manhood for years to come. Remember, your health is your legacy. Let's build it together.